Welcome to Daily Life Connection. Let's continue to explore who God is and the characteristics that define Him and help us to understand and relate to Him. I'd like to begin in Isaiah chapter 55 today. Familiar passage, I know, to many of us, but everyone who thirsts, come to the waters. You that have no money, come, buy and eat. Come, buy wine and milk, without money and without price. Let's talk today about God who gives out free samples. I don't know about you, but I always enjoy going to the store where they have free samples. Here's a free sample of this or that or the other thing. The store that gives out free samples. But you know, the problem with those is that they're really small, unless you keep going around and around the aisles and keep coming back to the same counter. You're not going to really be very satisfied. You're only going to get a taste of what's offered, or it's a temptation to buy. But with God, He gives out free samples, but they are so generous that they are completely satisfying. In this passage of Scripture, God is saying to His people, He said, "Why are you wasting your time and energy and resources on things that don't satisfy? What I will give you will fill you up, will refresh you." Jesus said it so many times, didn't He? "Whoever comes to me will never hunger. Whoever comes to me will never thirst. I will give you living water that will well up within you and refresh you and restore you, and you'll never be thirsty again." God's samples are incredibly generous, and there's no end to them. You might walk down the aisle of the store and there's somebody has samples, and you think, when I come back up, I'm going to get those. When you come back up, they're all gone. Never going to happen with God. Every morning, His mercies are new and fresh. Every day, there is a banquet prepared for you and I by our Father, and it's endless samples. And He's come by. Interesting, come by wine and milk and water and honey without money. There's no cost to this. It's totally free. Why are you wasting all of your time and energy and resources trying to get stuff that never really satisfies? The problem is, you get a sample of fame or a sample of money or a sample of recognition or whatever it may be, a sample of power, and you want more and more. It just makes, it doesn't satisfy. But what God gives us, His peace, His joy, His grace, His love, His mercy, His compassion, His justice, His righteousness, they all satisfy us. His samples are far bigger than samples. They're full course meals, aren't they? And they're offered just as free. They're not a come on to get you to spend more money. They're a free and open invitation. So I just encourage us today, in our time with God, in our time when we stop and focus on spiritual things, to just sample what God has for us. Wander in His presence. Wander in the great storehouse of God today. Go by His table where there is grace and where there's peace. Go by the aisle where there's compassion and mercy. Go by and check out the samples. And then what He's really saying is, if you really like this sample, come down the aisle and I'll give you the full bag. That's our God. That's our God. Let's spend some time in the great storehouse of God today, because He's got it all set up with free samples. And anything you want, He says, come. It isn't going to cost you anything. What an amazing God. What an amazing God. Let's think about that today. We'll talk again tomorrow.